Young, who was at that squad announcement earlier today. Percy, you've had some time to digest this 33-man squad. What have you taken from it?
Yes, good afternoon, Sako. I can tell you something. The dust is slowly starting to settle here at the multi-choice centre here in Randburg. There's still a huge excitement here after that squad was finally announced. Kolisi set to once again lead the squad to France to go there and try and defend their Web Ellis title. Well, like you rightfully mentioned in the introduction, there were a few massive, big omissions out of the squad. One being Lucanio. Now, we all have seen him this past weekend playing in that squad, led by Bongi Mbanambi in Buenos Aires. He injured his knee in that match, and there were concerns after that match. Jacques Nienaber initially couldn't answer the question, but now it seems the question has now been answered. We just attended a press conference with Jacques Nienaber, and he gave us a bit of clarity on some of these omissions. He's saying that despite they've announced that 33-man squad, Lucanio and Andre Pollard, who is also out of the squad, they've been given at least 2 to 4 weeks still to prove their fitness. So they'll be travelling as travelling reserves with this 33-man squad. Hopefully these players will be playing 2 warm-up matches against Wales, and then they'll head off to Twickenham when they'll play the All Blacks at a sold-out venue, and then they'll head off to France for that first clash against Scotland in Marseille, the first of the group stage matches. So yeah, for now, Nsako, there'll be 5 travelling reserves, that being Thomas du Toit, it's going to be Lucanio it's going to be Andre Pollard, it's going to be Jean-Luc Dupré, that's going to be part of that travelling reserves. Whether they're going to have game time, well, it remains to be seen. They'll possibly have to wait for some injuries amongst these 33-man squad. Nsako, just the last point, I think there were a lot of question marks around one particular player, and that is Makazole Mapimpi. A lot of critics, media like ourselves, were questioning his form over the last two years. Even the last past season, he was one of the players who scored a try in Buenos Aires. When his name was mentioned this afternoon, just a couple of minutes ago, or less than an hour ago, he got one of the biggest cheers here from the crowd that was here at the multi-choice centre, just giving a statement as to how South Africans feel about Makazole Mapimpi, a legendary player in my opinion, a player who scored the very first try in a World Cup final.
Rightfully said there, Percy, the first man to score a try at a Rugby World Cup final for South Africa. You speak of Andre Pollard, you speak of Lucanio but there were also some concerns about Usiamtanda Kolisi as well as Oxen Che, them not having fitness and not having played in the Rugby Championship. What is their state currently? Will they be playing in those 2 warm-up matches you speak of?
Indeed, we spoke to Jacques and Kolisi. Now, Kolisi obviously pleased and honoured to lead the squad once again. It's his 2nd consecutive World Cup that he'll be in charge of this squad. But first things first, he'll have to prove his fitness. And Jacques Nienaber and the national selectors have given him these 2 warm-up matches to prove himself. Like I said, they're playing against Wales, a tough side. They're not in the top 5 at the moment, and then they'll head off to Twickenham and for that warm-up match against the All Blacks. It's 2 tough matches where Kolisi will most likely have to prove himself, because Coach Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus have been abundantly clear in the weeks building up to this announcement that they can't have players who are cold heading into this World Cup, because from the start of that group stage they'll have to play knockout rugby, because it's a very tricky group. They're playing against Scotland, they're heading off to Tonga in their 2nd match, and then they're playing the world's #1 side in Ireland, and then the end of the group stage against Romania. It's a very tricky group, but many people, especially the fans, believe the Springboks will advance to the knockout stage.
And finally, Percy, I want to ask you a question that you asked Rassie Erasmus in the build-up of the 2019 World Cup. You asked him if he thinks he's the man that can lead South Africa to World Cup glory, and he did. The question to you now, Percy, is can this squad win Rugby World Cup 2023?
Nsako, you're putting me on the spot here, but I must be patriotic, and I believe these players that have been named here today, they are more than capable to go out there and defend their title. There's obviously a bit concerns, losing the quality of Lucanio, losing the quality of Andre Pollard, and even losing the quality of Louis de Jager in the squad. Those players will raise a bit concerns. It's still unclear what exactly the concern with Louis de Jager is, but based on the squad they've named here today, they are capable, more than capable, to go out and defend their title. Whether they can beat the likes of France or the All Blacks in the quarterfinal, well, we'll have to wait and see. But my money is on the Springboks to go out there to France and defend their title. They'll have to be at their best, though, to defend their title. Hopefully, we'll see Kolisi regaining his fitness. And once these players start hitting their straps, there's nothing that will be able to stop the Springbok side.
Right, so that was Percival Young out in Randburg at that Springbok squad announcement. That squad that will try to defend South Africa's World Cup title. Stay with us here on ENCA. We'll be right back after these.